While we are at it with making our environment a bit less of an eyesore, let's add some stars in the background. For this, the simplest option is to add an image as background, and we can use our existing world environment and set the background mode to sky, create a new sky with the PanoramaSkyMaterial and put an image as the panorama. For this I created this simple black background with some white spots, and in game it will look like this, which isn't too bad. Though it maps a 2D image to a sphere, just like a map of the world works, and when you're moving you'll never get closer to it. So I want to add some more depth to the background and add some stars in our world. For this we'll create a star script and a background script that adds the stars. Let's make the star into a class and change it to extend a mesh instance. We'll give the possibility to change the color by asking for it by init and fill our mesh with a sphere mesh. To make the star visible, we'll give it our color, set the emission to enabled, and set the same color as the emission color. This way our star will emit light on its own, and it's not needed to enable the unshaded flag for this material to make it visible. To add the stars, let's go to the background script, set the class name and create an export for our radius, create an array for stars, and I want the stars to move whenever we change the radius. So we'll create this setRadius function where for every star we divide by the previous radius and multiply by the new radius before setting the new radius into the variable. We can make sure this function is called every time the radius is changed by setting it as the set function. Let's make the create function to create the star and return it, and override the init function to create lots of stars. We'll use some random numbers in a bit, so let's set the seed to our lucky number 13, and I'll set the amount of stars to create to 200. We'll append our array with a new star and create the name by adding the index behind the star text and add the last star, which is now at the back of the array, as a child. All our stars will be positioned at 0, so let's move them outwards. I want them in a sphere around the planet, so let's create a random longitude between 0 and 180, a random latitude between 0 and 360, and a random distance between the radius and the radius plus 40. Then we use these values to set the position of the star. The vector 3 will accept these values, but we first need to translate these polar coordinates to Cartesian coordinates before they make sense for Godot. For this we can create the function polar to Cartesian and give the polar coordinates, and then use the sine and cosine to calculate the x, y, and the z, before returning them as a vector. We can replace our vector by our function, and now in-game in the background we see some stars. We can move them closer and further away, and they feel much more reachable than the stars in the background image.